green.
Alright, flight, prepare for deployment on my mark. Mark.
Target destroyed.
Splash.
Splash. Destroyer is already complete.
Flash Bandit. Athena, 6-2 flight lead, approaching stern, requesting clearance for land on main deck, over. Welcome pilots, my name is Hybrid V, and today I'm going to show you the basics of flight combat in the Star Citizen universe. Now, quick disclaimer, Star Citizen is in active development. That means everything I'm going to show you will inevitably at some point change. This video talks about the current combat mechanics of Alpha 3.7 and 3.8, which was released both in October and December of 2019. If you're watching this video months down the line, then chances are a lot of what I'm talking about will have changed. Hopefully by then I'll have an updated video, but just bear that in mind if you are watching this at a much later time. Alright, so we know how to fly around, quantum between two different locations, and make our way to the planet's surface, all while not getting ourselves killed in the process, of course. Now it's time to get the fangs out. At some point, we'll have to face the reality that the verse is a dangerous place. We're going to need to know how to take the fight to the enemy. The first order of business is to understand Star Citizen's current flight model. Every ship in game adheres to a Newtonian flight model. This means that ships act like they would in a real vacuum. To put it plainly, ships are big hunks of metal floating in space, and we have thrusters and engines that help us to move it around. What helps us keep all the chaos under control is our ship's IFCS, or Intelligent Flight Control System, that translates our stick's input to thruster output. Alright, so let's break down how thrusters are set up and how they affect motion. Every ship has a main engine. This engine is the most powerful, and typically is the one we rely on to zip us around the verse. Next, we have maneuvering thrusters. These enable us to pitch, roll, yaw, and strafe when needed. They generally are not as powerful as the main engines due to their size, but are crucial for allowing us to do complex maneuvers. And finally, we have our retrograde engines. These are generally the second most powerful engines and are mainly used for countering all forward momentum. Anytime we let off the throttle, these engines are the ones that kick in to slow us down. They also help us back up when we need it. Every ship is built with this model in mind: a main engine, maneuvering thrusters, and a retrograde engine. Even the alien ships currently in the game rely on this setup as well. Alright, now we understand the ship thruster model and how they move our craft through space. I do recommend you take some time practicing with your ship. You can get some free stick time in Arena Commander's free flight mode to fly around to your heart's content without worrying about enemies right away. Use that opportunity to get a feel for how your ship handles. Learn how easy or hard it is to make turns at higher speeds or do maneuvers like quick 180s. And also, to learn where the proper balance of limiting and throttle output is best to get quicker response times when doing complex maneuvers. Knowing how to handle your ship is key to becoming a better pilot. I can't stress this enough. Practice makes perfect. Alright, enough talk about engines. I know you came here to turn your enemies into slag, so let's get on with weapons. We'll go more over different weapon types, sizes, and deeper gunfighting strategies in a later advanced tutorial. For now, let's just focus on the basics. First, some key commands. Pressing the 1 key targets the nearest friendly. Pressing the Alt and 1 key together targets the nearest enemy. Pressing 2 selects a sub-target for your current target. Currently, the only sub-targets we have in-game right now are just the main engines. Pressing 3 cycles to the next hostile target. There are a few more other types of targeting commands that you can select, but those are the most important ones for now. If you want to know what the other ones are, I highly recommend you check out the keybinds options in the options menu. When you have a target selected, you have 2 types of targeting pips. The first is lead pips, where the recommended aim point designated by the circle in front of your target shows you where you need to aim your weapons for your rounds to hit the target. If you go into the gameplay options, there's actually an option to turn on what are known as lag pips. This instead creates a line from your crosshairs down to an impact point where your shots should land. Both modes have their strengths and weaknesses, and it really comes down to what you like best after some practice. Me personally, I prefer lead pips, but as you practice and get better, and try out each mode on your own, you'll eventually develop your own preference. In Star Citizen we have 3 types of weapon modes: Gimbal, Gimbal Assist, and Fixed. We can cycle between them with the R key. Gimbals allow the weapon to traverse like a limited turret. This is perfect for pilots with a mouse and keyboard, as they can use both their mouse to fly and aim their guns at their targets at the same time. Really handy due to its precision. The next mode is called Gimbal Assist. This is a pseudo auto-aim system that is usable with any gimbaled weapon. When this mode is enabled, the gimbals are locked forward and a circle appears around the crosshair with a smaller one inside that moves towards the outer circle until it turns solid, indicating a lock. When this happens, it means the gimbals are locked on the target and you have a very high probability of hitting the target consistently. Think of it as turning your weapons into auto turrets that require you to aim relatively close to the pips on target to get good hits. And of course the last mode is Fixed, which locks the gimbals forward. Very handy for joystick pilots like myself. Missiles are a powerful yet finite tool in your arsenal that, if used properly, can shift the balance of power in a dogfight. Remember that we lock our missiles with the middle mouse button. Once the red tracking indicator is locked and you receive tone, you can launch your missile by holding the middle mouse button. Quick handy tip, you can actually queue multiple missiles while you're in the middle of locking a missile. For example, if I wanted to launch 3 missiles, all I have to do is lock onto my target, and while it's in the process of locking onto the target, I can hit my missile button again twice, and this will queue up 2 additional missiles. Once my target is locked, and then just hold middle mouse button to launch all 3 missiles at once. Currently, there are 3 types of missile guidance systems in the game: IR, EM, and cross-section. IR, or infrared guided missiles, track targets via their heat signature. The more heat generated from the target's thrusters and engines, the stronger the lock. Avoiding space break and afterburners in conjunction with flare countermeasures can help distract these missiles. Keep an eye out for the red flame icon on your HUD, denoting an IR missile is tracking you. These missiles are also the fastest locking out of the 3. The second type is EM, or electromagnetic, which tracks the target via their electromagnetic emissions caused by weapons and components. They are slower to lock than IR missiles, but tend to be more accurate in tracking. However, these missiles can still be fooled by chaff countermeasures. Its lock symbol is denoted by a red lightning bolt symbol on your HUD. And finally, we have cross-section, which locks onto the target's radar cross-section and appearance. It takes much longer than IR and EM missiles to lock, but it can't be fooled by countermeasures, requiring the pilot to dodge them where possible. Its lock symbol is denoted by a red radar wedge icon on the HUD. If your ship has a 3D radar display, you can see missiles on the battlefield marked with a plus symbol. This can give you an idea what direction a missile is coming from and give you time to make maneuvers to try to dodge the missile. Remember that missiles are best used to crack open a target's shields, as they do great damage on a single hit. If your opponent has strong defenses, firing off a few missiles can help even the playing field. Just remember, however, that missiles are finite. Once they're gone, you have to restock, so use them wisely. To keep us from becoming space dust, we have shields that can negate some of the incoming damage to our ship. Shield health is displayed visually on the upper left-hand corner of our HUD, denoted by the 4 walls indicating the strength of each shield facing. If you want a numerical value instead, you can switch one of your MFDs to the shield module by using your interaction key. Shields block a lot of damage, but not all of it. For example, ballistic weapons can penetrate shields, but their velocity is lowered after passing through the shield, limiting their damage. And most laser weaponry can have their damage blocked almost entirely. This means that lasers can be more effective at draining shields, while ballistics are good at doing good hull damage over time. If a shield is damaged, it can take a lot of power for the subsystems to regenerate the shields. If this happens, maneuverability and weapon firing rates can be impacted. If multiple faces are down, it's wise to disengage and give your systems time and the power needed to recharge the faces. Trying to continue fighting while your ship is low on power and regenning shields could put you at a severe disadvantage. Our last line of defense is our hull health, denoted by the 3D image of our ship on the upper left-hand corner of the screen. In Star Citizen, our ships are made of multiple sections. The health of each section is represented by its coloration. If the color is the same as the HUD, such as green or blue, then the hull section is good. If it's orange or red, then that section is dangerously close to becoming destroyed. Individual sections of the ship can be destroyed and still allow the ship to be flyable. However, if there are engines or thrusters that were on that section, expect performance to be severely impacted. The most important piece of the hull is the main fuselage. If this section is destroyed, your entire ship will be destroyed, and so will you, so keep an eye on this. Currently in the game, there's no way to view the numerical value of your ship's overall health. You would instead need a friendly pilot to use their scanner to tell you your current health. Just remember that if your main fuselage starts to take damage, it might be time to bug out and get yourself repaired. Alright, let's go over some basic combat tips. When entering a dogfight, we need to keep some general rules in mind. Remember that speed is life. If we're moving too slow, we are an easy target for our opponent's computer to get a quick firing solution on us. So keep moving. Don't be afraid to use your afterburner to quickly change your direction of travel. Remember the meatball we talked about in the first video. Use that as a reference when moving around to get a better idea of where your ship is going. That being said, remember that going into cruise speed, the red bar on your throttle, allows us to go faster, but at the cost of our maneuverability. So make sure not to overdo it. It's a fine balancing act of speed and maneuverability that you must practice getting good at to become an effective combat pilot. Keep in mind that heat buildup is a killer. Our engines and thrusters generate heat as they are pushed during combat. They can quickly reach their limits when afterburning and space braking are involved. If you get an engine overheat warning, back off that throttle, afterburner, or space brake that's causing the buildup. If you overheat your engines, they will shut down and you will be dead in the water for a few seconds while your systems reboot, leaving you vulnerable for your opponents to take advantage. Don't always rely on your maneuvering or retro thrusters to slow you down in an emergency. You can instead pull a flip and burn to rapidly stop. If you ever played Kerbal Space Program or watched the Expanse TV show, you probably are already familiar with the idea of a retrograde burn.
This will be a high G maneuver. Prepare for flip and burn.
Using the meatball to your advantage, be mindful that there are actually two meatballs, one showing you forward momentum and another showing you the direct opposite of your forward momentum. All you need to do is a 180, lining up with the rear meatball, and then use your space brake. This will use your powerful main engines to slow you down, rather than relying on the weak retro thrusters or even worse, the maneuvering thrusters. Just be mindful you don't overheat your engines. And lastly, don't be afraid to disengage. Knowing when you're outgunned is key to staying alive. Create breathing room if you're overwhelmed. Backstrafing while keeping your nose pointed towards the enemy can allow you to return fire while they still need to keep pursuing you to keep up. If you are in over your head, retreating can allow your shields to recharge, heat to dissipate, and power to normalize. And if all else fails, jumping away to repair at a port is also a valid option. This concludes my basic combat tutorial for Alpha 3.7 and 3.8. Once again, remember that this is just a basic combat tutorial that every new pilot should learn jumping into the verse. Eventually, I'll have later videos going over much more advanced topics. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface of even just the combat mechanics in Star Citizen. Everything from weapon loadout types to different components and even tactics and teamwork procedures that you can do to become a better effective pilot in the verse. But like I said, those will be coming later. Until then, this is the conclusion of the combat tutorial. It's finally good to get this video out there. I know you guys really enjoyed that first tutorial, and I'm really happy you enjoyed it. I got a lot of new subscribers from it, and there was a lot of really good, nice comments that you guys left for me, and I really appreciate it. Took me a little while to get this one out because real life got in the way a little bit. I am currently working on a video game project, a horror game, so to speak. We're working on a demo, and we're kind of in a little bit of a crunch period right now. So I've been working on the audio for that, and I'm super excited. I can't wait to show it to you guys. I will be featuring it on the channel. But anyway, back to Star Citizen. If you guys have any questions about what you learned in here or anything that you've seen in the verse, please feel free to put them in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does actually help me out, and it does encourage me to make more content for the channel and for the community. Until next time, I'll see you all in the black.